She's the writer of the monthly New York Times Magazine column Diagnosis, of course, Dr. Lisa Saunders, and I love her because I get the weekend Sunday Times, surround myself with it, and it's just such a great column. I can't believe those two things are related. I'm a huge fan of House and that column. I mean, how did it come about?
Well, you know, I write this column. It's a mystery. It's a whodunit. Only
right.
The criminal is really a disease. And some of them are my patients, and some of them are patients that people write to me about, you know, either their own experiences or their own patients. And then one day I got a call from this guy, Paul Adanasio, didn't know him. And he said, "Do you write that column?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "Well, I love that column. I'm such a fan. In fact, I've made my newest TV show around your column."
That is so cool.
It was really cool.
I
have
love
to say, I was blown away.
So do you watch House? Because I think it's one of the best shows in the history of TV, not just on TV. I love it. It's so clever. Do you watch it yourself?
Oh, of course. Of
Oh,
course.
it's fantastic. Is it boring for you, though, because you know the ending, or?
No, I could never figure that case out.
Really?
No, and I forget them. It takes such a long time between when we work on the script and then when it comes on the air. It's like, wow, what happens next?
Yeah,
and I kind of remember, but I kind of don't.
And you consult on the show, right?
I consult on the show.
They'll give you an ailment, you know, we want a head injury, and then you come up with something for it.
Or even crazier, you know, I got an email from one of the writers the other day, and he said, I want to cut off this patient's skull. Is there a reason to ever cut the top of somebody's skull off? The real answer is probably no, but
but you came up
I came up with something that was plausible.
I actually remember that one. And I was saying one of my other favorites was when Mira Sorvino has the broken toe, and
right.
Hugh and her have that long-distance kind of romance thing, and
right.
he thinks she's dying, and it's her toe.
It's the only part he didn't examine.
Yeah, I know.
She kept her socks on.
Because she kept her socks on, exactly. It was so clever and so simple. Do you have any favorites after all this time of House?
Oh,
you
know, they're all my favorites.
Good.
You know, I like whichever one I'm working on now. So
it becomes the most exciting.
Of course, the ones that are based on my stories are the ones the permanent.
They are the ones that, yes, exactly. They'll always be your favorites. Now, you know, I mean, kind of joking aside, you're a doctor near a very large metropolitan city. How does somebody like, you know, when I'm in upstate New York, there's not a lot of health care, period, other than our local clinics and a couple of, you know, general practitioners. How do you find a good diagnostician if you don't live in a big city and you need somebody like a House?
Well, you know, I think one of the problems with House is that, you know, you think I have to go to a specialist like House, but really your doctor is a diagnostician. You have to find one who's going to listen to you. That's the most important thing. Any doctor, every doctor makes fantastic diagnoses when they come in.
So it's more important to find the relationship.
It's absolutely about the relationship that you have. So a specialist is not important. And then when you go to the doctor, especially if something's going on, you have a story to tell, and that story has a lot of really important information. Research has shown that, you know, that doctors will interrupt a patient after only 20 seconds.
Wow.
But the chances are your story's a little bit longer than that. Maybe it's a minute. The average is about a minute for a patient to tell their story. So if your doctor is one of the ones that interrupt you after 20 seconds, go back to your story. Have faith. There is important information in your story. 75% of diagnoses are made based on what the patient tells the doctor. So
without the examination at all.
Without the examination at all.
Would it make sense to make a list or bring something with you so that you have a reference?
Well, you can, especially if this is like an annual visit. But if it's a sick visit, you already know this story. You tell it to your mom, you've told it to your sister and your husband and everybody else in your life. So you already have it, and you have it pared down to its best form. Tell that story, but have faith in that. You are the expert in your own suffering and pains and ailments.
What are doorknob questions?
This is the thing that you meant to talk about, that you meant to bring up, but you got distracted by whatever the main problem is, and the doctor's hand is on the doorknob. His mind is already in the next room. His body is just there with you, and he's saying, "Thank you so much, see you next year." And then you say, "Doctor?"
Right.
And, you know, everybody's heart sinks. As a doctor, your heart sinks. I mean, we try so hard to get everything out up front. your heart just sinks, and you know what? Your doctor's mind is not there. So if you're coming to see a doctor and you have a lot of things you want to talk about, make a list, because that's really going to help you and keep your doctor focused.
And off the doorknob.
And off.